We've all seen the headlines about AI, right? Its
Mhm.
potential, how fast it's moving, even all the debates around how it's being used.
Hmm.
But what's really going on, say, on college campuses?
Yeah.
Like beyond the headlines and, the usual talk about cheating, it feels like something big is changing in how students actually learn quietly.
It really is.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into something pretty revolutionary, actually.
Okay.
Generative AI, it's it's not just some future idea anymore. For a lot of students, it's quickly becoming this essential, like, all-purpose study buddy.
An all-purpose study buddy. I like.
And like you said, it's way beyond just trying to cheat the system. It's
Yeah.
really reshaping the whole academic experience for many of them.
Right. And to really get into this sort of complex, sometimes contradictory picture, we've looked at a whole stack of sources.
Mm.
We've got extensive research, lots of interviews, surveys. The Chronicle talked to over 100 students and professors, plus there are surveys from Titan Partners, Primary Research Group, and even a study from OpenAI.
That's a lot of data.
It is. So our mission here is to unpack all that. What do students see as the benefits? What are the challenges? And I guess, what does it all mean for where education is heading?
Okay, so let's kick off with a story, a specific student's journey, which I think is really powerful.
Let's do it.
Right. So 2 years back, Allison Abelt starts at Kansas State University. And get this, she was actually afraid to even open ChatGPT on her laptop.
Really? Afraid?
Yeah, worried her professors would somehow, know she'd used it.
Wow. You can imagine that feeling, though, that kind of initial nervousness.
Totally. But despite studying for hours and hours, that first year, freshman year, was tough. She ended up with a B average,
Okay.
just buried under courses, trying to juggle it all. So she decided, okay, I need to try something different.
So she turns to AI. What exactly did she start using?
Well, she built up this, what she calls her AI arsenal.
Her arsenal, okay.
Yeah. So like ChatGPT for getting really clear explanations of tricky topics, maybe a confusing bone in anatomy, or some complex process in physiology.
Stuff that textbooks might make confusing.
Exactly. Then she used Perplexity, which is kind of an AI-powered search engine. And even Google Notebook LM, this was cool, could take her class notes, lecture slides, and turn them into study guides.
Personalized study guides.
Yeah, or even audio podcasts you could listen to while walking to class or whatever.
Now, that's a serious upgrade from just rereading notes. Did she integrate it even more? Did it stop there?
Oh, no, she went all in. She used Quizlet, which could make flashcards from her notes.
Yeah.
Then she'd use ChatGPT to create mock exams.
Mock exams, like based on her specific course material.
Yeah, exactly. Tailored quizzes so she could actually test herself. And she even used AI to map out a study plan, to beat procrastination and just manage her time better.
Okay, so this is a really comprehensive approach. What happened? Did it actually work?
The results were, well, pretty dramatic. She got an in what she called an insanely difficult pharmacology course
Wow.
and finished her sophomore year with mostly A's.
Okay, so it clearly made a difference for her.
It did. But here's the part I find really compelling.
Yeah.
Allison has this strong counter-narrative, right,
Yeah.
against that common idea about AI and education.
Go on. Because, I think a lot of us have that immediate thought. AI equals student equals cheating.
Right. So she says, and this is her quote, "The idea that when students turn to AI, they're being lazy and cheating completely enrages me, because that's not true."
Okay, strong words.
Very.
Yeah.
She really believes AI helps all students, no matter how they learn or what challenges they face, to actually understand the material. So for her, and probably many others, AI isn't the shortcut. It's an enabler. It unlocks understanding where maybe traditional methods fall short.
That's a really crucial distinction. It makes you think, okay, why are students jumping on this AI train so quickly? What's driving it beyond just Allison's story?
Well, a huge factor is just efficiency, which honestly for a lot of students is about survival.
Survival.
Think about it. They're juggling a full course load, often working 20, sometimes even 50 hours a week on top of that.
70 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time is just incredibly tight. There's this graduate student, Savannah Haley, working 50 hours. And in one class, she had like 15 dense academic articles to read per week.
That's insane.
It is. And she put it really well. She said, ChatGPT has leveled the playing field for those students who have to work for a living. She uses it just to quickly summarize those long articles.
Just to figure out which ones are even worth reading deeply.
Exactly. Just to identify relevance, it saves her critical time.
So it's not just about raw speed, it's also about making things accessible, filling in gaps.
Precisely. Khalil J. Davis, he's at UT Austin, he mentioned AI helps him study more efficiently, stay organized, and importantly, access explanations or resources that would normally cost a lot of money or time.
Right, like expensive tutors or prep materials. Yeah. So when you're looking at this mountain of work, AI can kind of lower that feeling of being overwhelmed, that barrier to just getting started.
And sometimes it seems like it's making up for other things, like maybe teaching issues or just not being able to connect with professors.
That definitely came up. Anna Swenson at Ball State, she works full-time. She told researchers she uses AI, partly because, well, some professors just read from the book or give confusing answers, or maybe their lecture style isn't clear.
Okay.
And because she works, she can't always make office hours. So she actually transcribed practice exams into an AI to get clear explanations.
Wow. So she's creating her own support system with AI.
Kind of. And what's deeper here is that students often see AI as this tutor that's always there and never judges.
Available 24/7.
Right. It gives explanations when the professor isn't available, or maybe for some students with social anxiety when they just don't feel comfortable asking a question in a big lecture hall. They'll ask ChatGPT instead.
It's like AI is becoming the new office hours. Always open, always approachable.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. So this incredibly fast adoption, these really specific ways students are using it, it naturally makes you wonder, what's the bigger picture? What does this mean for, the landscape of learning itself?
Well, the numbers on adoption are pretty staggering. Titan Partners found, for spring 2025, 42% of students were using generative AI daily or weekly.
42%, that's almost half using it regularly.
It's huge. And it's not just for writing papers. OpenAI did a study, found students use it for all sorts of things, summarizing texts, brainstorming, editing their work, solving math problems.
Lots of problems too.
Yeah, research, self-tutoring, even creating their own little lesson plans.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Primary Research Group found technical majors use it the most often.
Okay.
And get this, it's already supplementing or even replacing traditional search engines like Google about 25% of the time for students.
A quarter of the time they're going to AI instead of Google. Wow.
Yeah, and it's not like AI is this separate thing over here. It just slots right into the digital tools they already use constantly.
Like Google, YouTube, TikTok, Quizlet, Grammarly. It's just another layer.
Exactly. It's becoming part of their existing learning tech stack.
But this change in how students prepare before class or what they do during class, like relying on AI summaries, asking ChatGPT instead of the prof, that seems like it must change the classroom dynamic.
Oh, absolutely. Researchers like Linda Dowling-Hetherington and Virginia R. Stewart, they're seeing this. Students coming in less prepared in the traditional sense because they've got the AI summary.
Right.
Stewart has this really stark warning. She says, if your class presumes people are prepared, it's dead in the water.
Dead in the water. So the old model of read this chapter, come ready to discuss might just not work anymore.
It suggests it's under serious pressure. Yeah. It forces us to rethink what class time is even for if the basic info dump is happening via AI beforehand.
That is a massive challenge for educators. But, okay, while the efficiency, the access, that's all clear, there have to be downsides, right? Concerns, every new technology has them.
Absolutely. And with AI, they're proving to be, well, pretty complex. It's not all smooth sailing.
So what are some of the big ones?
Well, even the students using it have mixed feelings. They know AI can be unreliable, right? It makes stuff up sometimes.
Hallucinations.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of them worry about their own brains, frankly. Are their attention spans shrinking? Are they outsourcing their thinking too much? Anna Swenson, who we mentioned earlier, she worried about not using my brain as much.
That's a real concern, balancing the convenience with, cognitive fitness.
Precisely. And it's definitely not everyone jumping on board. Remember that 42% using it, well, about 20% of students surveyed said they never used generative AI.
A fifth of students just aren't touching it. Why not?
Various reasons. Someone like Esri Perrin at Webster University avoids it because of ethical concerns.
Like what?
Things like its environmental impact, the potential for bias baked into the algorithms, and just generally finding it untrustworthy. Plus, the time it takes to constantly fact-check everything it spits out.
That's a fair point. Verifying AI output takes effort.
Right. And Perrin also pointed out something interesting socially. Students are apparently fiercely divided on AI depending on their social circles and beliefs.
So it's not just a tool, it's becoming like a stance, a point of identity on campus.
Seems like it could be heading that way for some, yeah.
And this division, does it go beyond just usage? Are there other worries?
Yes. Big ones about sort of the erosion of the classic college experience.
How so?
Shelby Foster at McMaster University shared this story that's actually kind of heartbreaking. She wanted help editing a paper, right?
Uh-huh.
And she reached out to a classmate hoping for that peer collaboration, maybe build a connection.
Yeah, that learning from each other.
Exactly. And the classmate just told her to use Grammarly.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Foster lamented. We're losing an important aspect of the college experience.
Yeah.
Networking and building relationships and learning from the person next to you instead of just the professor in front of you.
That really hits home, the potential for more isolation, even when we're supposedly more connected.
It does. And then, of course, there's the cheating issue, but it's seen from the student side.
Okay, what's that perspective?
Juliana Fumadinizzi at Fairfield University talked about studying really hard, like the old way, for a psychology test. Then she gets into the exam's open browser,
Uh-oh.
and she sees classmates just copying and pasting the questions straight into ChatGPT.
Oh, that must have been infuriating.
Deeply frustrating, yeah.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of unfairness when the rules, or maybe the assessment methods, haven't quite caught up to the tech reality.
Right. So, okay, students are integrating AI deeply, for better or worse. There are these concerns, these divisions. What does this all mean for the professors, for the institutions, for the future of teaching?
Well, one key finding from the research was this pretty significant gap. Professors seemed mostly focused on academic integrity, catching cheating.
Understandably.
Sure. But meanwhile, students had already woven AI into their actual learning process day to day, so there's this disconnect. They're not always talking about the same thing.
A disconnect in understanding how the technology is actually being used by students.
Exactly.
But even with AI acting like a tutor, do students still want that human connection with professors? Is that still valued?
Oh, absolutely. That came through really strongly. Dowling Hetherington put it simply. That human interaction, the human touch, is still really, really important.
So what do they want from professors then?
Critical feedback. They want the professor's unique insight, their experienced critique, not just facts or explanations, which maybe AI can provide.
Ah, so AI can explain the what, but students still crave the professor's judgment on the how and why and the quality.
That seems to be it. AI can explain a concept, but it can't easily replicate that nuanced guidance, that mentorship, that personal perspective a human expert brings.
Okay, so if students are getting basic explanations from AI but still want human feedback, how do professors adapt? How do they reimagine teaching?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Rahul Devakar at Bentley University noticed students love ChatGPT for tailored explanations. They'd even ask it to, explain this like you're talking to an 8th grader.
Oh, okay, super personalized.
Right. But at the same time, those same students worried about AI being an echo chamber, just feeding them back what they already know, or maybe hurting their critical thinking.
It's a real tension.
It is. So Devakar's response, he started shifting how he assesses learning, less focus on just the final written paper maybe, and more on things like presentations, group discussions.
Ways to see the thinking process, not just the end product.
Exactly. His thinking is, the product can still be an indicator of the process, even if AI helped them get there. It pushes the assessment towards understanding how the student reached their conclusion.
That makes sense. And are there other signals about what students want from faculty now?
Yeah, Stuart mentioned something interesting. Students increasingly want professors to tell stories about their experience, rather than just going through traditional case studies or assigning readings.
More personal narrative, less textbook?
Kind of. It suggests students are craving that human element, that wisdom that comes from lived experience, perhaps because the informational aspect is being handled elsewhere by AI. It really suggests faculty need to rethink what they bring to the classroom and how they deliver it.
The whole landscape is shifting under their feet.
It really is.
So, looking ahead, thinking about this blended future, let's circle back to Allison Abel. Her story didn't end perfectly smoothly, did it?
No, there was a hiccup. She actually got flagged by an AI detection tool unfairly.
Oh no, after all that work using AI constructively.
Yeah, and it made her feel like she had to kind of dumb herself down in her writing just to avoid getting falsely accused again.
That's terrible, and it reinforces her point, right, that some professors just don't grasp how students are using these tools legitimately.
Exactly. But what's really interesting is Allison's overall take on the future. It's not doom and gloom. It's actually quite optimistic, but balanced. She sees AI fundamentally as a supplement, not a replacement. She points to fields like healthcare, where doctors already use AI for things like diagnostics or predicting risks. It's a tool to augment human skill.
A tool to enhance, not replace.
Right. And her final thought is really powerful. She says, no matter how smart AI becomes, empathy and intuition are human qualities that can't be replicated.
Hmm.
I think if we can find a balance between efficiency and human compassion, that's when everything will fall into place.
Finding that balance between the efficiency of the machine and the irreplaceable human element.
That's the core challenge and the opportunity.
So wrapping this up, what we've seen today is that AI, it's not just some add-on tool for students anymore. It's profoundly reshaping their entire learning journey.
Yeah, it's giving them incredible efficiency, new ways to access understanding, but at the same time raising these huge questions. Academic integrity, sure, but also social connection and, what does it even mean to learn anymore?
Right, it really
Yeah.
forces that question. If AI can explain, summarize, even tutors, what's the unique, indispensable value of the human professor, of the physical classroom, of learning alongside other people?
Big questions.
Definitely. And as students are out there figuring this out largely on their own, navigating this AI revolution, what huge shifts are we going to see in how universities teach, how professors need to engage, and maybe most fundamentally, what do we as a society decide to value as learning in this new age of AI?
Yeah, something to really mull over.
Right.